Hello, this is Andrew Larson, and I'm here presenting my Gislason law firm website. So, right off the bat, we've got this nice uh, title and header. I made this logo custom in Adobe Illustrator. This is text right here, so it's can be highlighted and whatnot. There's a subtle gradient in the background here, coming from this golden color to this more so yellow one. You can see there's some pretty subtle shading on each of these. I didn't want to make it too intense, or else it would kind of take away from the simplicity I was kind of going for with this website. I did experiment with adding some like background images or whatever back here and whatnot, but it just didn't really work for the kind of vibe I was going for. Yeah, so first of all, this is the homepage. It's pretty similar to the mock-up I made. It's got the green colors and the orange and yellows and whatnot. Again, a little bit of subtle shading on these links. This image here also has a little bit of drop shadow. Goes down here. Our office. I pulled this little custom marker. I feel like that adds a little nice touch to the address. It says when they're open, start working with us today. And then there's a phone number. And this also has a little bit of drop shadow that pulls up at the bottom of the button. And Gislason is here to fight for you. And these three links right here. This is really the only one that is usable, I guess, because the privacy policy is its own page. I did put that down here along with being at the top, so it's easy to access if that's just what you're looking for. Yeah, first introduction, pretty simple. Then the about section. This has an aside on the side, but originally it was going to be a little bit bigger, but I just found that it just took away from the more important content here because this is all just stuff you see on the homepage. So it's not really fully necessary. It is nice to have, and that's why I kept it here, but I just shrink that down just a little bit. Yeah, image, drop shadow, all these things are consistent with the links and images and whatnot. About us, history of legal excellence. And then I've got this section down here for the team. Little sections, no images, because, well, I mean, it's an image of a human silhouette, but it's no, yeah, it's open for the client to put in their own picture. These are all separated and pretty similar. Let's work together. This little bottom area, and yeah, same footer on all pages as well. The contact page. This is where one of the couple ways they'd be able to reach out. There's the phone number, and then there's the address as well. But this one is, yeah, they would fill in this little area and then select how they'd prefer to be contacted, and put the description here. I did add a little bit of like a little yellow on the checkbox as a nice little cohesion for the color scheme. And yeah, they get to select one or both for, yeah, if they're fine with both. Yeah, fill out the form below, and once we receive your submission, we will reach out to you as soon as possible. And yeah, and then we have the privacy policy, which is the last and final page is all still just placeholder text. I did add these little custom list points right here. It's just a really like simple little diamond. It just adds to it though. The overall like geometric feel of this whole page. Yeah, and yeah, it's got the same little bottom part as well. Yeah, I forgot to mention, but the little logo I added, it's a gavel. On top of that, it's also a G because Gislason, which I thought that was a clever little thing. Yeah, so for responsive design, because this will primarily be viewed on phone devices, I was sure to make a lot of options for that. So first of all, one of the first things that you see happen is the this little title shrinks down a little bit. One of the problems I did have earlier on was after a certain point, it would just move down into the nav bar and like push everything over and kind of just reorganize everything. So I just made it, first of all, shrink a little bit just to keep it there for longer. But then, quicker than my previous page, I made it just go to the logo and it shrinks down. And of course, there's a drop down menu. Each little thing you select it has a little golden border around it, which is nice. Yeah, everything centers after a certain point, so it's easy to read. You don't have all that weird tiny text on the side. And the same goes for everything else. The about as well. After a bit, it will all center. This is another thing that kind of took me a sec to figure out because it just wouldn't be centered in the middle. It would stay on the left a little bit. I had to change like all kinds of stuff for that. But yeah, scroll down and yeah, everything's centered. And then there's the aside as well that is centered. Yeah, looks pretty similar to the homepage because both that content is on the homepage. And then through this window, I can't fully show you the mobile versions just because the sizing doesn't work as well for Chrome, I guess. So this is the mobile version just in InDesign. There's a lot less space on either side just to get the content across and not make it too small. Like I said, everything's centered nicely. It's the homepage. The about section centered a lot nicer because of the images being pretty small. Yeah. In contact form, these are still like able to be accessed and typed in, whatnot. Everything's still and then privacy policy. And this one is a lot of content, so this stretched out quite a bit. What else? Let me see. Yeah, not too many problems with this project. I found it pretty fun, making it even more my own. Like I said, one of the problems was the text at the top moving down after I resized the page for responsive design. So yeah, I just fixed that by just getting rid of that after a certain point because you get it across who they are and whatnot, and it discusses it later on as well. Yeah, image adjustment centering problems. That was another issue I had. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this design, like I mentioned as well. I feel like it really isn't that complex, and yeah, it's, simplistic, clean, and I do really like the color scheme I chose because the client did say they wanted green, but I had this like kind of nice contrast, yellowish, orangish color, and that also can be associated with money because green money. This is like gold. um, yeah, I for this class, I did really enjoy the content. I feel like this was a lot of fun. Um, the only times I guess I didn't was when I was stressed, but that was really just because of me putting stuff to the last minute, and that's fully my fault. Um, yeah, something I might recommend changing uh, in the future would be, I guess, one thing was the videos. I think like one or two of them just had he talked about doing something in them, but I just couldn't find out how to do it because I think it was like a different version of it or whatever. I think it was really just let me go to Dreamweaver here to access them on their own little tab on your web browser. And he had a way of doing it here, but I found this right here does it pretty nicely. But yeah, I guess all that could really be fixed by is just a little heads up on the content module above the video, whatever, just explaining, or even just having newer, more updated videos. But it was manageable. I could still find out what to do. Um, do I see myself pursuing a career in web? Maybe. I did have a lot of fun with this. It was pretty difficult. I could definitely see myself doing it as like a side thing, just like commission based, like someone just I know, a friend or family is like, "Hey, can you make a website for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." But it probably wouldn't be like a full-time career thing. But, this definitely brought up really good to know content in this class, and a lot of stuff will definitely use in the future if I experiment with this more. And yeah, thank you for such a great class. Happy holidays. Have a good one.